Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what is honestly an incredibly fascinating and vital piece of legal architecture. When you hear a term like marine casualty, your mind probably jumps straight to some pretty gloomy images, right? Shipwrecks, oil spills, total disasters. But today, we're actually going to flip that perspective completely. We are looking at the Indian Maritime Casualty Investigation and Inquiry Protocols, specifically Sections 231 and 232. And instead of just being a depressing list of things that can go wrong, this legal text is actually this really bright, highly proactive safety playbook. It's a finely tuned machine, and it's designed to guarantee maritime safety, ensure absolute accountability, and ultimately protect our oceans. Okay, let's dive right into this and lay out our roadmap. First, we'll look at what a marine casualty actually is. Then we'll cover the 24-hour reporting rule, the investigation pipeline, and finally, taking decisive action. Section 1. What is a marine casualty? So before any of these rules or investigations can even kick in, we have to establish exactly what activates this whole legal machine. The law here is just incredibly broad, but also beautifully precise. Section 231 defines a marine casualty as an event or a sequence of events that results in loss, damage, pollution, or harm. But here is the really critical part when it comes to jurisdiction. This doesn't just apply to, ships bobbing around in a local harbor. This protocol activates for Indian vessels literally anywhere in the world. And just as importantly, it applies to any other vessel, no matter where it's from, if it's operating on or near the coast of India. So it creates this massive protective umbrella. So what specific events actually pull the trigger on this system? If we visualize the scope here, you can see the law ensures absolutely no safety threat is ignored. The system activates if a vessel is lost, abandoned, stranded, or materially damaged. It kicks in if a ship damages another vessel or even external infrastructure. It is triggered by any loss of life or even presumed loss of life. But listen to those last 2 points because this is where it gets incredibly proactive. The law doesn't wait for a total disaster to happen. It acts on severe threats. It activates for pollution or even just the potential threat of severe damage to the environment. And of course, if a fire or explosion takes place on board. Having this comprehensive list guarantees a swift response to pretty much any hazard you can imagine out there on the water. Section 2, the 24-hour reporting rule. And this brilliantly illustrates just how time-sensitive this process is once a trigger is pulled. The sheer urgency of the law is absolute here. Section 231, subsection 2, basically mandates a ticking clock. From the exact moment a marine casualty happens, there is a strict 24-hour window. And this isn't just a suggestion, it's a hard deadline. It ensures that the government isn't left in the dark for days while vital evidence just washes away. Immediate reporting means an immediate life-saving and environment-saving response. But you might be wondering, who is actually responsible for beating that 24-hour clock? Well, the protocol leaves absolutely zero room for finger-pointing. The responsibility falls squarely on the shoulders of the ship owner, the manager, the operator, the company, the pilot, the harbor master, or the master in charge of the vessel. And actually, if 2 vessels are involved, the person in charge of each vessel must act. They are legally obligated to give notice of the casualty to a specially appointed central government officer before that window slams shut. There's no, oh, I thought the other guy was calling it in. The accountability is absolute. Section 3, the investigation pipeline. All right, so the clock has stopped, the government has been notified, and now we transition from the initial panic into this highly methodical, step-by-step legal process. Let's walk through exactly how this escalates under sections 231, 3 through 6. Step 1. The appointed officer receives that 24-hour notice and immediately informs the central government in writing. Step 2. That same officer directly proceeds to conduct a preliminary inquiry and furnishes a report to the central government. Then, for Step 3, the scope really widens. The central government may appoint a specific body to conduct a formal marine safety investigation in accordance with the Safety Convention. This body does a preliminary assessment and a real deep dive. Finally, Step 4, a comprehensive final report is submitted right back to the central government. It's just a flawless chain of command, moving from a local, immediate assessment all the way up to a formal national review. Now, a crucial question to ask here is, what is all this paperwork and procedure actually for? Well, as Section 231(6) explicitly states, the ultimate goal of the marine safety investigation is to ascertain the true causes and circumstances of the marine casualty. This isn't just bureaucratic red tape, folks. This is a rigorous, structured search for the truth. By finding out exactly why something happened, this playbook actively works to prevent future accidents. It creates a continuous loop of learning and improving maritime safety. Section 4, Taking Decisive Action. Let's move to the final chapter and see how this all builds. We've done the investigation and we've found the truth, but what happens when that truth reveals wrongdoing? Section 232 outlines exactly what happens upon receipt of that final safety investigation report. If the central government forms the opinion that there is prima facie evidence, meaning, on the face of it, of incompetency, misconduct, or a violation of any law by any person, they have two really powerful parallel tracks they can take. They can initiate administrative action directly against the person, or they can simultaneously direct officers with jurisdiction over the area to initiate formal legal proceedings against that person in accordance with the law. So it ensures that whether the failure was just an administrative lapse or a blatant breaking of the law, the consequences are swift, structured, and completely unavoidable. So we've seen the precise definitions, that super urgent 24-hour clock, the methodical investigations, and the decisive legal actions. It truly is a phenomenal system of accountability. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder. How do these strict 24-hour reporting timelines and multi-layered investigations actively reshape the daily safety culture of global shipping fleets operating near India? When operators know this bright, rigorous legal machinery is waiting to spring into action at a moment's notice, how does that change their everyday behavior out on the water? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the systems that keep our world safe.